All right, hey, this is Alan Langelo from A Plus Racing, bringing you a video, getting your Miata up there where the trophies are. Hey, so I did that video on setting up ignition timing. You guys loved it. The video was really great. But I got a lot of responses like, okay, so you showed us how to set the timing on an NA, and you said that someday you'd probably show us how to set the timing on an NB. Well, that day has come. It's today. All right, so I gathered up enough parts that I think I can do this video, and I want to show you exactly what I use, how I use it, and even part numbers as best I can. All right, so I have here the exciter wheels for an NB1, all right? And I have the harmonic bouncer, and I have the support on the front of the crankshaft. I have a timing cover. I have a crankshaft positioning sensor, and I have a camshaft positioning sensor. And so we're going to work our way down that way, okay? All right. So can you see it, Mike? We got Mike. Cameraman Mike is back.
Yeah, we
can
see
everything. He's back. Yeah, he's back. All right. So this here is the stock exciter wheel for an NB1. All right. Now, the weird thing about this thing here, though, is that when you get these, you don't know, does it go this way? Does it go that way? If you put it on and it doesn't start, you put it on backwards, okay? It does have a little recessed area right here, and that recessed area sits over the hub right here. That's how I kind of know. So it kind of sits over there like that, okay? So what this does is this sensor right here is bolted to the car, and as this little dimple goes past it, it tells the computer where top dead center number 1 is, all right? So there are 4 marks because it's a 4-cylinder car, and one of the marks is not in the same place as the rest of them as far as the distance. I can see the distance from here to here is a lot less than the distance from here to here. So this one here is probably my number 1, that when that little tang passes this, that tells the computer that number 1 has just got up to top dead center. So that's why this is so important, okay? It's kind of like the cam angle sensor that, you know, we used to run years ago. So the 2 of them work together to make up the place of a cam angle sensor. So this is real important, all right? So the timing is fixed, all right? With this one right here, you put this on there, and then a harmonic balancer bolts to the front of it like that, okay? And there's nothing that you can do, all right? The timing is fixed from the factory because of this plate and the way the computer sees it, so you can't adjust the timing, kinda. So they have developed a way how to cheat, and you know, in Spec Miata racing, if there's a way, we'll figure it out. So we actually came up with this. All right, so this, you know, some people make it themselves. We'll talk about this one in a minute. And some of them, you just buy it from 5X Racing. There's a few companies. I think Advanced Autosport sells them too. This one came from 5X. And so this one is slotted, okay? So they're both the same there, but this one is slotted. So what happens when this plate is on here, it is fixed. There's not much movement you can get out of this, all right, especially when the bolts are on there, okay? So it's fixed. It can't go anywhere. Should I put it on backwards?
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes. All right. So, okay, thanks. Keep me honest, Mike. Yeah. So you see that it's fixed. It goes on there that day. You're done, okay? You can't do anything. All right. This one, on the other hand, you can move it. See how much movement I got? All right. So this one is slotted. So what I usually do is when I bolt it on, I push it all the way to one side, and then I put the car back together, so which means basically putting this back on. I never did have one of those toys with the, you know, the round peg and the square peg. So I put this all back on, I put the bolts on, and I move this all the way, like maybe counterclockwise. I start the car up, and then the timing, to check the timing with the timing light, is the same as an NA, you know, that you have to jump the 2 little ports on the diagnostic connector and then hit it with a timing light. And so I'll see where my reading's at, and then I can move this wheel. I turn the engine off, okay, when you reach it. You got to stay stuff like this when you're in high school, man, because believe me, if I tell a kid to move this thing after starting the engine, they'll reach their hand down there. It's just what we're dealing with nowadays. So turn the engine off, okay, and move it a little bit. So you would loosen these 4 bolts up. You would move this just a little bit, tighten the 4 bolts back down, start up, and check to see where your timing's at. Now, factory timing is 10 degrees, okay? So, and let's see what that might look like. Let me find the mark on here. Okay, here they are. You know what? I'm going to, Mike, you entertain them for a second. Okay, I'm back. All right, so where were those marks at? Let's see. So when I want to find the marks on the car, I just put my fingernail on the wheel, and I go and I turn it until I feel my fingernail catch right there, okay? So there's one there, and there's one here, all right? So let's mark those a little better in chalk, and I'm even going to mark it down this way a little bit. Okay, so now you see the marks. So this is going to be like this, okay? So now that is at top dead center. So if I'm looking at that, my timing is set at top dead center because we're going off of this mark right here. So, and people are, well, how do you know that's top dead center, not that one? Well, one, I've proven it by putting this pin right here straight up on the engine, and it lines up right here, and the piston is all the way at top dead center with the head off. I've seen it. I know it is, okay? And so what they did, I don't know why they did it, they put 2 marks, but if I line this one up at top dead center, where does the other one line up at? 10 degrees, okay? So if you want a stock setting, you're going to see this one there and that one there, and that means that it's set. Now with this wheel, that's all you got, okay? That's it. But being that we have an adjustable wheel on here, I can change it, all right, by moving the gold wheel that's in the background. Okay, so I'll kind of repeat myself. I'll push it all the way as far that way as I can go. I tighten these bolts up. I start it, and let's say I check it, and it's like this. Okay, well, that would be 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Now it's going to be like 24 degrees. You won't get that much out of this plate, but that would be 20 some odd degrees, and I want to be at maybe 12. I want to push the limit a little bit. I want to be at 12. So then I would turn the engine off, loosen these 4 bolts back up, and just turn it, you know, just a little bit the other way, tighten these 4 bolts back up, start it up, check the timing light, and maybe I'm sitting right there now. So now it's at 10, 12, 14, because each one of these is worth 2 degrees. 14, it's a little too much. Turn it off, turn the engine off, loosen these bolts, move it just a hair more, like that. Tighten these 4 bolts back up, start it up, check the timing light, and maybe I check it, and I'm sitting right here at 12 degrees, okay? So that's how I can adjust the timing on an NB, all right, so that I can get the most power out of it. Usually, I set it at 10 degrees and I leave it, and then what I do is I take it to my dyno guy in Sacramento, Driving Ambition, okay? See Steve down there. Steve used to be in my class. I got him that job. So Steve's down there. He's the new dyno guy. Not new. He's been doing it for about 10 years. I think I got him that job 10 years ago. And so I usually just drop the thing off. I say, hey, it's got an adjustable wheel on it. And then they go ahead and they do all the moving and tighten this back up. And then I just pick the car up and we're good to go. Okay, so that's what I do. I have him tune it up on a dyno. All right, so that's how we adjust it. Okay, now this plate here, I bought an NB that was like a track car. And the thing never ran right. I mean, it didn't have much power. And I always thought there was something wrong with the engine. We ran it for a few months, and I'm like, you know, let's just pull the engine out. Let's just put a different engine in there because this thing doesn't, I don't know, this thing just doesn't run right. There's something wrong with it. So And we did compression tests. Everything looked okay, fuel pressure, compression, but it just didn't have any power. So we pull the engine out, or start pulling it out, and for some reason I took the harmonic balancer off, and this was there. Now, if this is you, and I bought the car from you, what the hell is this? Okay, because this was the problem. The reason why, maybe why you sold the car, it didn't have any problem. So somebody took one of these, okay, and then they tried to make their own one of these, all right, and screwed it up. I mean, you had 2 pins here, another pin over here. I think what you did is you tried to, it was supposed to be in this pin, and then somehow you got it backwards and you put it, hey man, but this is the reason why the thing didn't have any power, okay? So I said, stop taking the engine out. Let's put one of these in there and see what happens. Fixed everything. Matter of fact, that car got second place at Laguna Seca SCCA race last weekend, all right? So, yeah, be careful when you're doing stuff like this, all right? Because this ended up causing them more trouble than what it was worth. So I just picked these up from 5X Racing, and we don't have any problem with it, okay? The only thing is that this one doesn't, it has a sticker when you buy it that says this side towards the engine, I think. But when the sticker falls off, you put it on, it doesn't start, yeah, flip it around, okay? It's only taking these 4 bolts off, all right? Pull this off, then flip it around, and it'll probably fire back up. So I've seen that problem 2 or 3 times. So anyhow, but sometimes I look by the amount of wear that's on it, because this sometimes rubs against the cover, all right? So when it rubs against the cover, it leaves a mark. See this one here? See how it's all rusted here? So that tells me that this was rubbing against the cover right here. So that's how I can kind of tell which way they go. And on the stock ones, it has a little dimple on it, but these ones don't. But I could see, you know, there's some wear here. So that kind of tells me it was probably sitting like this, okay? So this side would be go on to this like that, all right? Okay, so and I can kind of see this image right here is right here. That's where it was stuck on there, okay? So that's just a pattern. All right, so let's talk about, people are always asking me, you know, they call me up and say, well, it doesn't start or it doesn't run right, and you know, I've done everything and we can't figure it out. And I tell them, okay, on an MB, did you replace the original connector that goes to this? Because this is a common problem. I did a video on it where these 3 wires on this connector, where we just replace the whole connector and tap into 3 wires. And a lot of time, I got to tell you, 90% of the time, that fixed like all kinds of drivability problems that we have in these cars. So this is, and over the years, I see more and more where this connector is a problem. It gets hot, things expand, it doesn't make a good connection, and then it starts doing, it's a variety of backfiring. The one I remember the most felt like a bad TP sensor. It had a dead spot right off of idle. You know, all kinds of little issues with the stupid connector that goes on right here. So I go to O'Reilly's. It's expensive. It's $60, but I know they sell them online a lot cheaper, like $12 for that connector, and you just splice it in. It's only 3 wires. Mazda makes a kit that's way too complicated. I've used it. It doesn't work. You have to grind some of this connector apart. I stopped using that. The other way, too, is you could buy the whole harness that goes everything from here all the way back to the computer. It comes with all the connectors. That's sometimes a way that I go, but it's a little pricey at just under $1,000. Okay, so I tell people, you know, it doesn't start, doesn't run right, replace the connector. And then they go, well, and then I ask them, did you replace the cam angle sensor, which is this right here? Yeah, I put a cam angle sensor. Where did you buy it from? It's like, oh, I bought it from, you know, 2 brothers from Italy parts department, and it still doesn't run right. One time, a little short story, okay? We're at Laguna Seca. I got a driver named Sean Lovick. Shout out to Sean Lovick. He used to rent my car, and he won most races. He either won or it ended up in the body shop, okay? Sean Lovick, he's one of the best drivers in California. He's probably one of the best drivers in the country. So he was driving my car, and of course he wants a car on peak performance because he's winning. And the thing wasn't running right. And, you know, I made sure that car was meticulously maintained that he rented from me. Matter of fact, you could rent that car. I still have it as a rental. And so I was talking to somebody else at the track. Said, man, I don't know what's going on with this. What he's describing is like a bad crankshaft positioning sensor, but I got a brand new one in there, and everything checks out. And this one buddy of mine, Lasher Racing in Salinas, he goes, well, Al, where did you get the crankshaft positioning sensor? I got it at O'Reilly's. He goes, oh, I never use aftermarket ones. I always use the factory one. I go, well, do you have one? He goes, yeah, I got one. So he gave it to me, but put it on. Fixed everything. All right. I no longer buy these from Two Brother from Italy auto parts. Okay. I only get these from Mazda. Matter of fact, in every one of my trucks that tows race cars, these are in there. They're in the door. Okay. So if somebody in one of my MBs says, well, this thing isn't running right, we put one of these in and we put one of these in. Okay. Usually that takes care of it. So if you're rolling an MB1, I would have these on hand. So Mike, why don't you zoom in here so they can get the part numbers and see what I'm talking about. So I only use factory Mazda cam sensors and the crankshaft positioning sensors. Okay, so I only use the original one. So, and those are the part numbers right there. Okay, now when I set this up, there is a specification for the gap. Come in here tight, Mike. That goes between the little nub on here and the sensor. And it's basically, I think, 60 thousandths. And so you use a credit card, or not a credit card, a business card. You put a business card in there and then tighten this bolt down. And I got to tell you, when you guys want to make a lot of money, make a bracket that this can go into that's held in with more than just one bolt, because it's very common that this thing moves. All right. So if you messed with the engine at all and you pulled on this cable or something, they move. A guy called me the other day, you've been fighting a no start. And I said, well, what's the gap on that? And I guess it was like this. And I go, no, it's got to be like a credit card, business card width away, and it'll start. I go, even I've seen them run a 1/4 inch away. Okay. But it's got to be, you don't want it to hit, because it's going to cut this thing in half. And I've seen the kids do that too. And so you just want it to clear it. All right. You know, by a little ways right there. So I haven't found a big deal when it was 1/8 of an inch or when it was 60 thousandths. The car seems to run the same. So, but to eliminate a problem, I set it one business card width away. Okay. These ones here, pretty elementary. You take the one bolt out, you put the one bolt back in. You would think that would be something that is very easy. But here at high school, sometimes that overwhelms some of the young minds about take one bolt out, put one bolt back in. And I go, well, what happened to the bolt? I don't know. It drove in here. I know it had one. Yeah, I don't know what happened to it. So that's what I live with every single day. Okay, so if you have any more questions on this, by all means, put it down below, and I'll try to address it when I can. One last tip, I always buy these new. I just read a post that somebody says, oh, well, my cam sensor is buried out and my timing, I can't get more than 2 degrees. When that happens, come closer, Mike. Let's go into that real quick. So I saw it on Facebook. The guy says, well, here's where my timing is at, and I can't get any more out of it. It was on an NA1A. And he says, and my cam sensor is buried out on the timing, so I can't get any more. What I usually see when that happens is that the harmonic balancer has slipped. Okay, and you usually take another one that I know is good, and I set it on top of it, and I line that hole right up there with the other hole, and I'll see that the marks aren't in the same place. That's because this harmonic balancer is encased in rubber in here. See that rubber right inside there? And what happens sometimes is it slips, and this will move, and then the timing marks are way off. So I've seen that 3 or 4 times when this has slipped and this doesn't line up right. So kind of keep your eye open for that. Okay, I always replace this cover with a brand new one when I rebuild the engine, because they get warped, they're greasy, dirty, they're all twisted, and so I just buy brand new ones. They're not very expensive. All right. Okay, I think you got it all. I hope this answers all your guys' questions. I really appreciate guys subscribing to my channel, and the channel grows bigger and bigger. I'm surprised every month how many people are chiming in. I get calls from all over the world that helping people with their car. And so thank you for making this a very fast-growing channel and very useful on YouTube. I'll see you at the racetrack. Bye now.